to all my model building friends everywhere out there. Boyd here with you, and welcome again to TrekWorks. Well, I've got some fun stuff on the bench for you guys today. We're going to work on our Mad Max Interceptor a little bit more. We left off with the last couple videos where we finished the model car itself, and we talked about those lighting effects that we wanted to put in. Well, today our control board came in from Ralph at Tenant Controls, so we're going to go back to the bench and get that all hooked up and show you how to make that operational. We've got those cool little beacon effects going on the driving lights on the front, and then our police beacon on the interior of the car, so that should be pretty cool. But the really fun part about today's video is we're going to work on a diorama for the model. I've gathered up some stuff from around the shop, some low-cost stuff, so we're going to call this one Diorama on a Budget, everybody. Hope you'll enjoy that. Be right back with that in just a couple seconds, guys. Sit back, relax, and we'll see you there. All right, everybody, we're back on the bench here now, and we'll take a look at what we're going to do to get things started. What you see in front of you is a shadow box. This is a shadow box that I picked up at my local Michael's or Hobby Lobby, if you have one of those in your area. They usually have a sale on these things. It's 2 for the price of 1. So I paid a little over $20 for this one, and I got 2 of them exactly the same. They have them in many shapes and sizes. I was actually looking for something a little bit longer and a little narrower because we're going to kind of do a road diorama, but this will do. And it's a really interesting little item here because it'll work out perfect for a scene, or if you want to add sounds, or if you want to add lighting where you want to have components on the bottom side of this. Being it's hollow, we have a glass top here. We have this nifty little sliding access door here that we can reach in and do all of our work with our hooking up our electronics, and then put everything back, and then have an access panel if we ever need to work on it. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to modify this a little bit, guys. We got to drill a couple holes. We're going to use this front side here as our main area. I'm going to drill a hole here for our power button to turn our main power on, which will activate the headlights and the basic lighting on our Interceptor. Then we're going to do a secondary switch here, which is going to control our lighting effects from our Tenant Controls board for our flashing beacon. Now a little bit later I'm going to be adding a sound system to this as well. I've actually ordered one of the 5-button recording units from an outfit called Big Dogs. They're kind of a greeting card thing. I'll put up their link here on the video here for you. They're a greeting card company, but they started out producing, you know, where you open up the greeting card and you get a voice message and things like that. So they kind of expanded on that, and they've got a nice little 5-button setup that runs off of a little battery power supply that you can program up to 5 different sound effects or music or whatever you want, or you can have one continuous thing. So we're going to kind of work with that. We use something very similar to that on our Invaders build that we did a little while back, and it's very inexpensive. It runs around $12, $15, something like that, and it hooks up to USB. You just download your WAV files into it and you're ready to go. Once we get that soundboard here a little later, we'll take you through that whole thing as well. But today we're going to focus on getting the model mounted onto this and getting all of our circuits installed and finishing off our diorama scene, at least beginning to work on it here. So this is going to be pretty cool, guys. So we had to show you this first. This is the base that we start with. Now I'm going to slide this out of the way and show you another something that we picked up here at Hobby Lobby. This is a basic diorama scene from a company called Diorama, and this is about 20 bucks. You get all kinds of little goodies with this kit. You get foliage, trees of different shape, different ground effects, rocks, pebbles, simulated dirt, grass, all kinds of really cool stuff. And I've used this kit 3 times already. I've created 3 entire dioramas out of this, so you get plenty of supplies in it. Here on the back, I can't really show you all the supplies we had with this, guys, because I've used up some of them, but I'll give you a basic idea. You get a roll of grass, or you get some separate grass that you can put down as a powder type. You get some kind of weed effects here. You get some angel hair that kind of looks like, you know, really dense, thick bushes. You get some other ones that look more like tree shapes, so you could do kind of shrubs and things like that. You get some of this foam here. You get these different types of powders. They also include some application tools to mix up some glue that you can see here to stick everything down. It's a really nifty little kit, and for 19 bucks you really can't beat it. Here you get some fake plastic trees, and you can take some of this foliage and glue onto those and make really nifty looking little realistic trees. That's something that we did on our Invaders diorama that you guys might remember. So we're going to work with this to create our scene here, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. So what we're going to start with is we're going to modify our base and get the holes worked in and get our electronics set up on this, guys. So let's check that out. I'll be right back. Got to take a quick pause and get everything ready to go. Be right back. If you guys remember, we have this nifty little opening hatch on the back side here, so I started off by drilling a little hole here with my Dremel, just with this small little drill bit on it, and that'll be where our main power comes in from our wall wart. We'll have our power line coming in here. We'll tie an underwriter's knot on the back side of that so it can't get yanked out, and I'll leave a little bit of slack on the inside here so we can actually open this later if we want to. If I drilled the hole on this other end over here, we'd get it pinched when we opened it up, so we have it so we can slide this open if we ever need to get at anything on the inside. Hopefully we won't, but in case we did. And then here I've removed the back, which is the cardboard area, and that's the actual side we're going to use for our creating our diorama scene. On the front side of these, you have this glass in place. Now you can take this out if you want to, or you can leave it in. I decided to leave it in. I just painted the back side of it here with some flat black to kind of cover it up, and it'll be pretty safe on the bottom side. Nothing should ever hit it or anything like that, but if you want to take it out of there, you can. I would have used the top, but we had an issue where we got to drill a hole through this. I probably could have went and got a glass bit, but we're on a budget here, so I decided to use the cardboard side on the back there. We can drill through that easily, and so that's going to work out pretty good. Now here around the front, we talked about our switches and stuff that we're going to use. We're going to use one switch here on this side, which will be our main power that will turn on the basic lighting of our model. That's the headlights, the taillights, and the little map light and the police radio we have on the top there. And then this second switch here will be our momentary switch, which will activate our effects for our flashing front lights and our police beacon. Here we're going to have a sound effect button and a second sound effect button. As I mentioned, we're going to use one of those Big Dogs greeting card soundboards that has the 5-button input. When we get that here at the shop, we'll show you that, and we'll go back and install that a little bit later. These are just some holes I drilled here to mount my speaker from the inside. I'll kind of cover this up and hide that a little bit, and the sound will come out of the front of this really nice. So this is going to work out great, guys. So what we need to do now is we need to work on the top part of this and get our actual diorama done, because I've got to finish up all that, and we're going to drill through a single hole through that to run all of our wires down through and hide them next to the tire on the car, and then we'll bring those down into the bottom and we'll hook up our board and everything. So what I want to show you guys now is what we're going to be working with here. Basically, we have this pre-rolled and kind of flattened and crushed cork that we bought at Michael's as well. It's very inexpensive. It comes with several feet of this stuff, and I cut a sheet of this out and I glued it down on top of our cardboard there. This was something that a little tip that I picked up off of one of the videos I saw on YouTube. The guy I've mentioned before, Transition Modeler, big shout out to him again. Great little idea he had for this here, where you can use this cork to simulate our asphalt road. In the Mad Max films, we saw a lot of kind of blacktop or just plain old asphalt roads, and by doing a little bit of work to this, by just painting it black and then doing a little bit of a wash on it with some different colors, it really looks just like real asphalt. And then the interesting thing that he pointed out here is that you can kind of tear this stuff. I'll tear a little scrap piece here for you, and you just kind of crack it like that a little bit. You can crack it all the way across, or if you want to stop, or if you want to go all the way across. But once you put this back together, after you paint it, you'll see that it leaves these little kind of brown edges in there, and they look perfectly like real cracks on a real asphalt road. So that's a really, really interesting and excellent technique, and very low cost, very easy to do. So that's going to be our basic theme for the top of this. We're going to have that glued down on there, and then on the sides we're going to use some of our materials from our kit that we showed you a little bit ago here, the detail kit for creating a diorama, some of the different kinds of rocks and the sand and a little bit of weeds here and there. So I'm going to work on that and get that put together real quick, guys, and we'll show you how that looks when we come back. We're going to drill our little hole there, and we're going to mount that model on top of it and run the wires down into the bottom. So that's the we're getting into the real fun stuff here, guys. Be right back. All right, everybody, we're moving along pretty well on our diorama. I worked in our cork here. You can see I've got this mounted, and some of the other details are done. I'm going to talk with you about how we did all this. We used some 3M adhesive spray. We cut this out, and we just kind of laid out our roll down on there. I was doing some research on the movie and looking at the roads that they had in the outback in Australia in the film Mad Max. They were really narrow. If you paid attention, if you'd see two cars passing each other side by side, they'd almost be mirror to mirror when they were going by. So they had really narrow roads. We kind of wanted to simulate that here a little bit, and they were definitely blacktop. And talking about that technique that we learned from Transition Modeler there again with this cork. You can see we put down a couple little cracks in this, and we took our hobby knife and kind of chipped up the edges here to make it look like it had that rough kind of poured look to it. And then we did our detail with some airbrushing here with some yellow stripes and the white center stripes. Along the edges here, I used some of the supplies from our Scenorama diorama kit we showed you, and I used this puffer tool again. I just loaded it up with this different colored powder that looks sort of like sand and dirt, and just laid down a coat of Elmer's glue with a brush and puffed all that on there to get our basic texture on both sides here. And then I sprinkled in some of these rocks, these small kind of pebbles and stones, and what I did there to hold those in place is I just kept spraying over them with some Tester's dull coat, about 2 or 3 passes with that, and they were pretty well held in place. A couple of them might be loose here and there, but for the most part they're glued down pretty good. Then I took some of this angel hair that we had and just put it in here and there to make some dying vegetation look. We had some of these weeds we put in the cracks here and there just to kind of liven it up. I don't want to overdo this whole thing and put too much stuff in it. It's supposed to be a sort of a barren looking background that we saw. The road was supposed to be the main reference that we were looking at in the shots, and so I think that looks pretty good. We did a little bit of weathering on the road here, just taking some white artist chalk and just kind of broad brushing it, dry brushing it on there to give it that kind of bleach look as well. So this is looking pretty good, guys. What we want to do now is we want to work out where the car is going to sit and everything. So I kind of have been thinking about this a little bit, and I think I want to have it sitting in a position sort of like this, like he just kind of pulled over, and we're going to have our little 1/24 scale Kawasaki bike like laying on its side, maybe right about here. That hasn't arrived yet, but we'll show you that a little bit later. We're going to make a sign that we're going to put maybe here or in one of the corners of the high death toll roads, you know, that we saw in the film. And then of course our little Mad Max figure that's coming from Monsters in Motion, we'll have him kind of like he's walking towards the bike when that gets here as well. We'll show you that. But today we're just going to focus on getting the car mounted down. I've drilled a little hole here through the asphalt, which our tire is going to cover up here when we set the model down. And what I've got to do now is I've got to run all these wires through there for our different control circuits. And we're going to have our control board actually down inside of our base here. So I'm going to just prop this up here, get the car out of the way just a little bit. We're going to prop it up with our measuring tape here just to have a little gap in that. And I'm going to one at a time. What I've got to do is I've got each one of these circuits labeled. So I'm going to pull this tape off of here and just kind of run them down through the hole, and we'll get them through, so they're basically put back, and we're going to have to put this, we want to remark these so we know we're hooking these up to our control board. So I'll just take this off of here real quick, and we're going to sneak these 2 wires down through our hole. I'm just going to do these each one at a time, and like I said, we're trying to leave a little bit of slack in the wiring. I've got our green one coming through pretty good, but the red one got hung up. Let me try that again. There we go. Get that one worked through here. And we're going to leave just a little bit of slack in that, just so we can get enough of it out here to solder it to our control board. And I'm going to make a new label for this one. This one we labeled as our beacon. That's our flashing blue light that we have on the dash there. Some of you guys asked me why we had so many wires coming out of this. Well, we had to have all these separate circuits for the lights, the 2 wigwags in the front, and the beacon on the dash. Those all have to operate separately, so they had to have their own set of wires going to them, guys. So that's the reason we did that. Otherwise, if we were just doing basic lighting on this model, we could have just had a power wire coming out of there, plus and minus, and that would have been it. But we had to separate everything here. So let's move on to the next set of wires. This is going to be our left front strobing light, our lower driving light that's going to do that wigwag police effect. So let's get this one threaded through there. Hopefully both of them come along for the ride this time. Looks like we're doing good that time. Got them both to come through. Okay. I'm just going to real quick make a new label for that. my simple way of keeping track of my wires, guys. You may have your own way of doing that, but we definitely don't want to get these mixed up. Left strobe. We'll be taking these tags right back off here in a minute once we connect it all up, but until then we will know what everything is. Okay, power. So that's the last of our wiring harness. Let me give you a quick little zoom in on this now. We'll kind of place the car where we want it. We're going to tuck these wires up underneath of the body kind of like this, guys, and then we're going to just hide them behind the rear tire so that when you look underneath of it, you won't be able to see it. I'll work on that just a little bit. But here's our basic look. Get this out of here. And hopefully we're centered there. Let me get a little bit closer for you. You can see that's going to look pretty darn good. We'll hide our wires there and everything's going to line up. And again, we'll have enough slack where we can lift the model back off of the base to do some maintenance on it, or if we want to change something later on, which is very possible. So that's that for this part, guys. What we're going to do next now is we're going to come back. I'll warm up the solder iron and we're going to connect the board, and we'll take you through that whole process step by step. Stay tuned, everybody. Well, here we are with some more, everybody, and we've got our solder iron warmed up and ready to go. It's time to work on our circuit board now. We're going to start off with connecting the right front strobe light here that we have on the lower half of the bumper on the car. So we can see on our wiring schematic here that we get from Ralph, these instructions, is that all of the negative side of our LEDs is all hooked up to the same output on the board, which is number 8. So what I've done is I've taken all the grounds and connected them together here, and I'm going to put that one in place first, and then we're going to connect our individual channels, which will be our left and our right beacon on the front and our interior beacon that we have for our police light on the dash. So this number 8 one needs to go first. I'm going to just tin these wires real carefully. You can see I've got our board in our little helping hands here. It's so small that we want to have that nice and secure when we're working with it and doing delicate soldering on that. I'm just putting a little bit of solder down on this magnet wire here to get a nice coating on it, so we have a nice bond when we put it down onto the board. And then I'm going to tin our terminal here, which is our number 8 that we talked about, just real carefully. And we've got a nice little bond there. I'll zoom in on this for you guys just a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here. And now we can go ahead and connect this one on. As I said, I've got just enough wire here to work with. I didn't want too much and I didn't want, you know, too little. But I'm just going to touch this on here now, and we should be able to pop it right down in there. There we go. Give that a second to take. I think I'm going to have a little trouble. It's close to this chip right here. I don't want to put too much heat on that chip. There we go. We got it to go down in there good that time. Okay, so we've got that. We're just giving it a quick little tug here to make sure we're good. So we're good with that connection there. So the first one that we want to hook up here, according to the instructions, is LED number 2, which is a double strobe. The positive side of that one is going to the number 2 position on our board here, so we're going to locate that. It's right here in the front. So we're going to find our connection here for our left front beacon, which would be this one right here. I'm going to repeat this whole process again, guys. We're going to tin this little wire here first. Got my solder iron at about 750 here. Actually, I don't have it turned up enough, guys. That's why I'm having a little trouble. We've got to crank that up a little bit. Okay. About 750 degrees. There she goes. We got a nice little fine coating of solder that penetrated our enamel coating on our magnet wire there. So now I'm just going to gently put it down into the hole, make sure we fit good and everything first. It looks good. Now I want to tin this terminal here real lightly. Be really careful here. A little solder on that. And then we're going to go down in with our wire, guys. So let me kind of move these other ones out of the way. Kind of scary working so close to the car here, but it's just kind of how this worked out. Get this one down in there. There she goes. Perfect. And we'll just let our solder set up for just a second there. And give it a good little pull. We're good there. That's a good connection. Okay, now we've got our other strobe light here on the front, which will be this connection right here. It's marked right front strobe, and our instruction sheet here says that that goes to location number 3 on the board. So let's go ahead and tin this wire as well. Got that one ready, and we'll check and see number 3 is located right next to number 2 here. That's logical. Let's dab a little solder on that terminal here. Get my tip cleaned off. Doesn't take a whole lot, guys. It's real easy. I'm using some 6040 rosin core solder here. It's what size? 0.62 in diameter. It's kind of a general size. Works good for most of these basic electronics jobs. You can of course get much smaller, thinner stuff if you prefer it, but this is kind of a good overall size. Okay, I'm going for number 3 here, guys. Going to put this one in. Again, it's very, very small, very hard to see, but we'll get it okay here. Just got to steady down, and there we go. Dropped right in there. Okay. We'll give that a quick tug again and make sure. That looks good to me. And finally, we've got our beacon, our police beacon that's on our dash, and that one here, according to these instructions, hooks up to number 1 position. So that'll be this one farthest down here. And we'll just repeat this process one last time, and we'll have all of our beacons connected. We're going to tin this wire again. Alrighty. Just want to make sure it's got a nice coating in it. Definitely penetrated our enamel there. Looks good. Okay. Now we're going to dab a little solder on terminal number 1 here. Just like that. And go for it. Kind of move everything out of the way. Get this a little bit straighter first here, guys, and try to go straight down in there. Perfect. Went straight in. Okay. So that's looking good, guys. We got that part done. We're just going to flip the board over here really quick and see that we've got a little bit of excess wire sticking out here. I'll just clip this off. We don't want to have that accidentally touch something. So that's fixed. Okay. Now, what we have here is we have a momentary switch also, the one that we talked about on the front of the display base, and that one is going to activate this circuit and our special effects. So we've got a little trigger wire that needs to come off of this. On our diagram here, it shows that we're also connecting the one side of that to our number 8 position. So I had tied that in with all of our ground wires here that we connected originally to the number 8 terminal, so we've got one half of that done. The other wire needs to connect to the let's see, location number 6 on the board here. So we'll locate that, and that is, where's number 6? Looks like it's down here. Okay, we have it down here right in the corner, guys, right on the very bottom. So I need to get another separate piece of magnet wire, which we have right here. And we'll do the same step one more time, guys. We're going to tin this wire and then get it onto the board. All right. Oh, gotta do my terminal first, getting ahead of myself a little bit here. There we go. Yeah, setting up these boards is really easy, guys, if you just follow these little instructions step by step. And again, I've talked about this a lot with tenant controls before, but Ralph is one of the best guys in the business that I've ever seen, where he's got excellent customer support. So if you have any trouble getting this hooked up, or any issues like that, if you're new to electronics, just email Ralph or even give him a call and he'll walk you through it. He's really helpful, so that makes this a lot easier. Okay, we're going to kind of keep these wires a little equal length here, guys, and I'll just trim them off. And before we lose track of that, we'll just put our another little label on this again and mark it so we know what it is when we get ready to lay the board down in. And we'll just call this strobe. And that'll be our momentary switch for that, guys. That'll connect to our switch. We'll show you doing that here in just a little bit. But so we've got the basics of this done now. Now what I can do is I can kind of tear off these unsightly looking labels that we have on here. They're kind of gaudy looking. This is some really tough tape, by the way. This is that Painter's Choice tape, and I'll tell you, it's some tough stuff. I'll just kind of cut it off there, I guess. Making really sure not to cut our wires. That wouldn't be good. Okay, getting rid of this stuff one by one here. This one we can just leave. This is our main power wire, guys. That will not get connected to the board at all. We are going to have to solder on 2 more wires to this board, which will be the main power coming in, and these will get tied together. So one half of the power supply feeds our board, the other half goes straight to the lighting on the model. The board will not activate until we hit our strobe button here with our momentary switch. So, but it does have to have constant power going to it. Okay, so this we're just going to kind of leave off to the side. We'll get this last one trimmed off here. I'm probably going to have to make those power wires a little bit longer so we can reach our switch. I cut those off a little bit too short. But there's the basic wiring for our control board, guys. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the top half of this and we're going to lay it down onto our base, and then we're going to look and see how much room we have for everything, and get all of our wiring tacked down and get our board mounted down into the bottom. We're going to use a little bit of hot glue to do that, so we'll be back with that. See you then. Okay guys, I'm back with you again, and here we've worked on our base a little bit more. I've got all my switches mounted in here. I had to use a 13/32 drill bit on an electric drill, and I just drilled those holes out, and I've got all these hot glued in place. We've got our 3 momentary switches and our power switch here, and then you can see on the inside here I've got my power wire ran through now. This little jack will hook up to our power supply, which will be a 9-volt wall wart. So we've got that ready to go, and we tied our little underwriter's knot here in the back corner so it can't get yanked through. And I've got this set up where this rear hatch can open up and close and leave our wire undisturbed here where we're going to hook up our power. So now it's time to lay the top half of the base down on here and mount our control board with a little bit of hot glue here, and then connect our main power up to everything, run power over to our power switch, and we'll be ready to go, guys. So let me get everything soldered in there and I'll show you how that all worked out, and then we'll come back with a little bit more. Alright everybody, back with you once more, and we're getting towards the end here. You can see that now we've got the control board mounted inside the base. We hot glued that in place, and then we connected up our power wires. We came off of that main wire we showed you that we brought in from our wall wart 9-volt power supply. We brought that straight up here to our switch in the front for the main off and on power, and then we brought that back, which will also activate our control board and the power that goes to the main lighting in the model, which is the headlights and the taillights at the rear, and the police radio and the little map light that we have inside the car. That will always be on once we turn the power on. Our board will be active too, but we won't get the secondary effect with our police beacon and our flashing lights on the front until we hit this momentary switch here. That's been wired up directly to our board here. Now these two switches here on the end, we're not going to be using those until we connect the soundboard. Like I mentioned, we're going to have one that just does the police siren effect and the kind of the horn sound of the car like we heard in the film, and then up here we're going to have a second one that'll play some dialogue and sound effects and stuff from the movie that I've picked out, and we'll show you that when we connect up that board, maybe in about a week or so when that comes in. So let's go ahead and drop the top of the lid down in place now. We'll do this kind of carefully here for you. And we've got that dropped down. Now you can see it looks pretty cool. We've got our nice little diorama going on there. I can't say again how much I love this effect of this cork that Transition Modeler came up with on his video. That's really, really cool. It really looks just like real asphalt. Let's drop the lights down just a little bit and we'll have a look around. You can see it looks pretty cool sitting there. We can go over to this side and our wiring is pretty well hidden there. I might take something, and there's a little bit of, you can see in the wheel well if you look really close, I might tint that with some black or something, reach in there with my airbrush and tint that so you can't see it, but it's hidden pretty well, and we've got some slack in it so we can pick the car up and move it around a little bit if we want to. But just here's a little look at the detail of the diorama. Like I said, we did the weeds here and there, the streaked look of the road, but that cork gives an absolutely perfect texture for an old asphalt road. I mean, it's just exactly perfect, and even where it's cracked there, you can see the same thing you would see on a road where it's sort of brownish looking in the middle there, and we didn't have to paint that. So that is really slick. It looks really rough around the edges like you can see. So that worked out really, really great. So let's go and check out the lights now, guys. Let's turn the main power on. And first you see that we get just our basic effect of our lights there all by themselves, and that's pretty cool. We've got our tail lights here at the rear, as you can see, and then inside we've got our little map light and our police radio that's lit up, and that's pretty cool. So then we hit this second button here, and now we get our strobing lights at the bottom of the grill and our police beacon flashing in the top, and that's the exact effect we were looking for. Ralph, you did a great job on this board. We really appreciate that. It worked out just like we were hoping, and you can kind of see, we can see that detail all the way around. It gives the model some nice little action there in the front, I think. So again, going back to, this may not have been on the regular car, but what the heck, guys, it's fun to build models and put your own little ideas into them, and that's what it's all about, right? So we had a lot of fun with this one, guys. Now we're gonna finish up the diorama here in another week. Like I said, we'll get our soundboard and get that connected. I'm gonna make a little sign of some kind that looks pretty cool, and then we'll get our little Mad Max figure and our motorcycle guy that's crashed there, and this will be complete. So this is a really neat little display. I hope you enjoyed that. We had a lot of fun working on this one, and we'll be back with the final update when we get everything in place, guys. So until we do, like we always say, take care and happy modeling, everyone.